Right after the rattlesnake sank its fangs into her thigh, my neighbor, an older Apache woman everyone just called, Miss Tala, grabbed my arm and pleaded, "Rancher, please, please get the poison out." And in that moment, with her breathing turning shaky and her eyes full of panic, I froze. I had seconds to act, but everything I'd ever been told about snake bites contradicted what she was begging me to do. Was I wrong for what I did next? You tell me if you would have done the same thing in my boots. The story really begins earlier that morning. I live alone on a small ranch near the Arizona-New Mexico line. Most of my neighbors live miles off, but Miss Tala's family ranch is just a 15-minute ride on horseback. She's one of those people who seems carved out of the land itself, calm, weathered, wise. Over the years, she'd taught me everything from how to read cloud shadows on canyon walls to which plants calm a nervous horse. So, when I heard her winded voice calling my name across the pasture, I knew something was seriously wrong before I even saw her. She was limping, clutching her leg, and trying her best not to collapse. I spotted the puncture wounds right away, small, spaced apart and already swelling. A rattler bite. We'd had a wave of them recently because of the heat, so I kept snakebite kits around the property. But I also knew you're not supposed to cut the wound or suck out venom like in old movies. Still, panic does weird things to a person, and Tala was in real pain. She kept insisting I use my knife to open the bite and pull the venom out. I told her that could make things worse, but she shook her head and said her grandmother taught her that it was the only way. I could see the fear behind her stubbornness. She wasn't thinking clearly, and she needed help fast. I lifted her into my truck as gently as I could, and she gritted her teeth through every movement. She told me the snake had struck while she was gathering herbs behind her barn. She hadn't seen it until it rattled, and by then, it was too late. I pushed the truck to its limits, heading toward town, calling the emergency clinic on the way. They told me to bring her in and not attempt any old-school remedies. I told Tala the same thing, but she was getting weaker and begging me again, saying her family had always handled bites that way. I could tell she felt betrayed that I wasn't doing what she asked. But I didn't want to risk her life by doing something dangerous or outdated. Halfway to the clinic, she went quiet. She wasn't unconscious, but her voice was barely above a whisper, and she squeezed my hand like she was fading. That image, her leaning against the seat, trying so hard to stay awake, still sticks with me. I felt guilty, like I was choosing between respecting her beliefs and trusting modern medicine. And in that truck, with the road humming under the tires and her breathing turning shallow, I wondered if I'd made the wrong choice. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you follow her traditional request or stick to what doctors recommend? When we finally reached the clinic, 2 nurses rushed out with a stretcher. They worked fast, blood pressure cuff, oxygen, anti-venom preparation, all of it. One nurse asked if I'd cut the wound or tried extracting venom. When I said no, she nodded with relief and told me that doing so could cause more tissue damage. I can't explain the wave of reassurance that hit me in that moment. Even though I still felt guilty about not listening to Tala, they moved her inside, and I paced outside for what felt like forever. The sun was hot, the parking lot empty, and every minute stretched like rope pulled too tight. After about an hour, the doctor finally came out and told me she was stabilizing. They'd given her anti-venom in time, and she'd be kept overnight for observation. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. It felt like someone had taken a boulder off my chest. When I walked into her room later, Tala looked tired but alert. She smiled a little when she saw me. I apologized for not doing what she'd asked. But before I could get the words out, she shook her head and squeezed my hand again. She told me that fear had clouded her judgment and thanked me for staying calm. She even laughed weakly and said she was glad I hadn't listened to her panic brain. Hearing that felt like someone lit a lantern in a dark room. They released her the next day and she's recovering well. We cleared the area behind her barn, and she's been teaching me more about the plants she was gathering that day. She jokes that the rattlesnake must have been jealous because she never visits without bringing herbs for me now. Looking back, The whole situation reminded me that helping someone doesn't always mean doing exactly what they ask. It means doing what will keep them safe, even if they're scared or hurting. And sometimes the right choice feels wrong in the moment. If you were on my side here, like this video, subscribe for more stories like this and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.